Right, good morning everybody. Welcome to the first of our virtual Maritime UK Solent Careers Fairs. Admittedly, we have had some technical problems, but do bear with us and please do add in your questions in the chat function as we go along today. So I would like to welcome both Kia and Simon from the Associated British Ports. They are one of the leading port companies in the UK, and we're going to hear a bit about Kia's pathways and her role within the port system as well. So Kia, please could you introduce yourself and tell us what your role is within ABP?
Yes, hello, I'm Kia. I'm a commercial apprentice. I'm studying the Level 4 Commercial Procurement and Supply Diploma. What's different about that is I'm not actually in the procurement team, but I'm studying obviously a procurement related qualification. But that's really good because it will give me a all-round business insight. I've been at ABP now for 14 months and I'm on a 24-month apprenticeship scheme.
Excellent. Okay. And how did you get into your apprenticeship? How did you find out about it? Did you join from school or college? How did you get into the system as such?
So I went to my sixth form for 1 year and there I did AS levels. And then I just realised that wasn't the route for me. So I started looking for different apprenticeship schemes. I didn't have any set schemes set in mind. So I was looking at all types of apprenticeships in any industry. And I was just using the Gov Apprenticeship website to search for those. And then one day, a few different ABP ones came up actually. There was, I remember, a marine pilot apprenticeship. There was a marine data apprenticeship, and then there was the one that I went for, the commercial procurement and supply apprenticeship. I just chose that one because it related mainly to the subjects that I'd studied so far, like business, English, history. I've always been more on that side of things and the maths and science side. So I thought it was a really interesting one because all of the others were all quite similar, you know, like business administration and lots of other similar engineering type ones. So it really caught my eye.
That sounds really interesting. So do you live near to the port? Were you familiar with the port before?
So I live literally like 10 minutes away from the Port of Hull, but the job that I applied for was based at the Port of Immingham. So that's like 50 minutes away from me across the Humber Bridge, so the other side of where I live. So at first I was working at Immingham because I enjoy it there as well. It's the biggest port on the Humber and there's so much going on there. So it never seemed like a negative thing to me to have to travel to Immingham. I actually enjoyed it. But now recently I am based at Hull. So yeah, technically yes, technically no.
Interesting. Okay, so you're saying you're based there. So does that mean you're sat in an office 5 days a week, or do you get to go around the port? What's your average day? What does that look like, or your average week even?
So technically I'm office based, yeah, but I've been around all of the ports and I'll continue to do so, all the different areas of the ports and all the different terminals. So sometimes we'll do tours, port tours. I've even been on a port tour. I think it was a school came to visit and we had like a careers event. So I just accompanied that port tour. And I always take opportunities, like we recently extended our commercial team. So again, a new series of port tours all around, and I just joined in on all of them, and I was telling them the things that I'd learned as well, as learning more myself. So there's always plenty of opportunities to get out and about.
Excellent. So when you say you're in the commercial team, what does that actually mean? What do you do? How do you explain?
Yeah, so the commercial side is basically sales and bringing the business into the ports. Some sides of the commercial team, so there's different sectors, so you have like automotive, dry bulks, liquid bulks, steel, metal, containers, Ro-Ro, Lolo, that's where I left off. Some types of business, the managers will have to make more of an effort to advertise and bring the business in, whereas other types of business, such as dry bulks and grain, we have more people requesting to come in basically, and you don't have to go out and try and win the business as much. Like currently, we're struggling for storage space because we have that much of a demand. So that type of business obviously is less of a sales role. It's more like just managing the contracts as such. But I know that other managers have to make the effort to really market what's available. So there's so many different sides. So it used to be called the sales and marketing department. So I feel like that really says what it is in a way.
Yeah. So you say about a team, how big is the team? Is it one or two of you? Is it, I don't know, 20, 30? Is it a big team that you work with in?
So in the commercial team currently there is about 13 or 14 of us, and the roles within that vary from, we've got Nat's our commercial analyst, we've got business development managers, commercial managers, sustainable development managers, and then we have a couple of people that work in projects also, and then there's me. So it really does vary. We recently built the team up a bit more just to manage the workload a bit better because it's building up. But yeah, it varies. Different teams have varying amounts of people.
Do they also have apprentices like yourself? Have you got other apprentices within your team, or are they across the organisation?
So actually within my team, I'm the first commercial apprentice that ABP has ever taken on, so a bit of a guinea pig. So no, and I don't think that. I think that in the future that could be something, more commercial apprentices, because my apprenticeship so far has been definitely really successful. I think ABP as a whole are definitely trying out lots of new different types of apprenticeships. I know that the Port Operative Apprenticeship, that was a trailblazer scheme basically made by ABP. I think that's run for either 1 or 2 years now. Again, another really successful scheme that there'll definitely be more to come in the future.
Excellent. Simon, can I bring you in there? We were talking about different pathways and qualifications, and I believe you do a graduate scheme, is that correct?
Yes, we do indeed. We used to do. I've been with ABP for just over 2 years now, and before I started, many moons ago, I hear they used to have a graduate scheme, and then they stopped it, and then we reintroduced it the last couple of years, and that's been really successful. The first year we had an intake of four graduates, and the next year we had 7. With the first year, they were all on the same pathway of port management, and it's a great way for people to really get into the industry, because they didn't have to have a port management degree. We had people who'd done an economics degree. There was a marketing degree, but they were the right fit for what we were looking for. And what they do is 2 years of rotations. 6 months each one, was one out of the region, so they're at a different port, and that really sets them on the path to becoming a manager and then a port manager from that. So that's another option that we have in addition to the other pathways that we have, like the apprenticeships. And as Kia said, the port apprenticeship is one that we've kind of specifically made, and that was for people that were kind of not sure what they want to do, but want to get into the port side of things. Maybe they didn't go to college and do their any engineering. It's a good way for them to get into the business and kind of get really into the operation side of things. And it's great because I was part of the first part of that. And you see these people come and join the business, and then they're kind of in awe when they first come on port, because you've got all these huge cranes and all this machinery and everything everywhere. And then 12 months later, they're up there and they're in the cranes, and you know, they're like masters of their own destiny up there.
Sorry, I froze at that point. So I heard
That's
about the
okay.
cranes, and then I froze. I can only imagine how exciting that is, because as you say, these crane drivers, the large cargo containers, it's like, how does that all function in at work?
Yeah.
It bewilders me. I mean, in Portsmouth, where we live, we have a large port, and we have containers bringing in the bananas. I think Portsmouth has 70% of the UK bananas imported in the area.
Wow.
So is there a main sort of cargo in where you are then, Kia?
So up on the Humber is definitely one of the largest and most varied. So I wouldn't say we have a main, but we do definitely have really good large biomass credentials. So that covers dry bulks basically, and that basically is the UK's energy supply through huge companies like Drax. So yeah, I'd say that's definitely the main one.
Excellent. I was also reading, and we were talking about this, about how young people are now looking at organisations that are environmentally conscientious, you know, talking about eco-fuels, reducing carbon, so on and so forth. Is much of that going on within ABP, do you know?
ABP as a company is very conscious about environment and safety. Those are two things that, whilst I've been here, I've definitely noticed. And we have so many different roles within staff and departments that cover things like that. So I know that our compliance team, they work for things like to apply for different ISO standards relating to things such as the environment and different permits and things, so that we're able to handle specific cargoes all within the correct environmental legislation, and everything's covered. And within my team, there's a sustainable development manager, if I can get it out, and he basically looks at all of the environmental processes with any projects that we do, because obviously when you're building large things, like you said, it can have environmental effects. And his role is to ensure that everything is covered and done as it can be.
And just to jump, to jump
carry
in
on.
there. Just to jump in there, yeah, we're really big, as Chris said, on renewable energy, and we actually create enough solar and enough renewable energy to support most of our own and our customers' operations, and we also feed some of that energy back into the grid. I think on 17 of our 21 ports, we've got the ability to create renewable energy. So it's really good for the environment, and there's various other initiatives that we've got. So, for example, in Southampton, they changed their fleet of vehicles to electric vehicles, which is a lot better for the environment than diesel vehicles going up and down the port.
Sure. You just mentioned you have 21 ports. So is there opportunity, like let's say for Kia, to move to any other port within the UK? Is that a possibility as an employee?
Yeah, we're really big on internal mobility within ABP, and that doesn't matter if it's a graduate, an apprentice, or a normal member of staff. We have people move. We had one recently from the north to the south, because that's where they got a promotion, and we do have apprentices that move along to different ports. And we have internal notice boards and internal e-shops for jobs, so people do get the chance to move around, and it's something we encourage because it really broadens that person's perspective. So say Kia was mostly into container cargo. If she moved to South Wales, she could develop her knowledge on steel, because we're really big on steel down there. If she then moved to Southampton, she could find out a lot more about cruise, because we're one of the biggest cruise ports down in Southampton. So there's plenty of opportunity to move about and really gain that knowledge, so you understand the ports as a and ABP as a whole a lot better.
Absolutely, that sounds fantastic. And we're talking about different cargo. It really does seem as though you are keeping the country going. You know, you're talking about steel, you were talking about, was it grain, I think you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
Kia? You know, so it does seem that you are, you know, you're keeping us going regardless. I suppose logistics are involved in that as well. So you've got a whole ream of opportunities within the port itself. You talked about roll-on, roll-off. Is that the cargo that is?
Yeah, that's the cargo. Yeah, there really is. I mean, you've got people who are looking for a maritime career, and they can find that. We have pilots, and those are the specialists that go out to a ship. So say Southampton, a ship will come out to a few miles outside Southampton, and then one of our pilots will get taken out there on a boat and bring the ship into port, because they're the experts of bringing ships into the port and know how the sea or the river flows. So there's maritime careers like that. We have marine operations apprenticeships for people that want to do work with different parts of the marine operations. So we've got the VTS, which one of the apprentices explained it to me as air traffic control for the sea. So they plan all the vessel movements and can see what's happening. And then we've got engineering, which is really big because of all the plant and the equipment that we've got. Operations, they're the lifeblood of our workforce. You know, loading and unloading the ships using the cranes and all the different types of material handlers we've got. And then of course we've got the business support and commercial, like what Kia's doing. And it's not just commercial, there is also logistics, property. We've taken on property apprentices because we have so much property that we own, and then we lease it out to our customers. We have surveyors and people that work in property to do that as well. So there really is you know, a real breadth of careers for people that want to join ABP.
Can I come back to you, Kia? So we were talking about you're doing your level 4 apprenticeship at the moment. You know, what is there opportunity for you to progress in that even further?
Yeah, so one of the main things when I was picking out an apprenticeship was that I was concerned that some of them would just be a scheme, you know, that ran for a certain amount of time, say 18 months, and then after that I wouldn't have anywhere to go. I wasn't sure about the progression after that. But ABP, straight off the bat from my interview, speaking about what I would like to do in the future. And now my apprenticeship will end next August. And throughout my time, we've always spoken about what interests me, what I would like to do in the future. Personally, I've always wanted to go to university and just have a degree. That's just something that I would like to do. And I'm at the point now where I would be able to progress to a level 6 apprenticeship after I complete this one. But I don't necessarily have to do that in the procurement and supply that I'm currently doing, which is great because, again, it offers me not only progression, but progression to almost everything that I would like to take. And the company will support me with that again. So, yeah, definitely lots of room for progression.
Excellent. Sounds really, really positive for you. And you also mentioned about your manager. Do you also have a mentor when you're studying for your apprenticeship?
Yeah, so I feel like everyone in my team is like a mentor of their own kind, and because they all manage different sector groups of cargo for starters, and then they also some of them do projects, and also in my main office we sit near property as well, so you know, if I'm talking with them as well, and some opportunities are linked. So I feel like in a way everyone is like a mentor, and I do a lot of shadowing with different managers and different types of people that are involved with different projects. So I'm kind of getting a very all-round education, I guess.
Sounds like it. So are there people of a similar age to you? Is it quite varied in your team? You're obviously a young female. Are there any other females in your team?
Yeah, so in my team, there are a few females definitely, and we all range from, I'm the youngest, 18, and everyone else, we're a big age range. With apprenticeships, there are definitely with the academy, the ABP Academy, at the start of the apprenticeship scheme, we all got to know each other. We spent, I think it was a week or two, being inducted together, all the apprentices. So it was a really great way to start, because you're not just starting alone. And with that, the apprentices ranged from the ages of 16 to 50. So there is a great range of ages. There are other people in the company similar age to myself. So yeah, definitely I'm not the odd one out.
That sounds really positive. Again, yeah, well, still time for me to do an apprenticeship then. That's all I'm going to say, if you're taking up the upper scale. So it's never too late. That's brilliant. I'm just looking down my questions. Has Simon, you may be better placed to answer this. Has the pandemic impacted on the port at all?
That's a really interesting question. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, our cargo is so diverse that we don't rely on one customer or one type of trade. So we've got some areas that have suffered, such as Southampton. At its peak, Southampton was having, I think, up to 6 or 7 cruise ships turn around a day. At the moment, no one's going on a cruise due to COVID. So that's not doing so well. Manufacturing of cars has really slowed down, and Southampton's a big car port, so that's slowed down there. But then there's other areas such as East Anglia, where we do a lot of work with the agricultural customers, where we have fertilizer, feed, grain, and that's actually increased quite a lot. I mean, we've kind of, it sounds cheesy, but we keep Britain trading, and food's one of the main things that we need to keep on going. So that's actually increased, and in South Wales, steel has actually increased as well. So although we have had some areas that have performed less because of what's happened, we've had some areas that have actually increased, which kind of shows how resilient we are as a business.
Yeah, and ever expanding, I hear, as the maritime sector is going to increase indeed in future. Are you working from home? I'm not sure where you are, Kia, if you're home. It looks like
No, I don't have chrome wallpaper. Yeah, I'm currently in the Hull office. I just personally prefer working in an office. The environment motivates me more than being at home. So I am an odd one out currently in the office.
Okay, great. Thank you very
much. And I'm
working
from home. Yeah, working from home today.
Excellent. Thank you both. Well, I think you've both answered all of my questions. It's been great talking to you both. Kia, I wish you all the best with your future career path. And Simon,